Yeah, my view of this whole development of information security and privacy laws is that it's been in fits and starts, and there are a lot of different approaches that are being tried. A breach notice is one of the key ones, I think, in the states that actually arguably had more impact than, say, the EU Data Protection Directive in a lot of ways. But now we have different approaches from all different angles. John mentioned reasonable security. What the states are now doing, which we might call a trend at some point, we've got, I think, 2 states that fall into this category at least, are mandating not only some sort of level of reasonable security, and they're throwing in some risk factors, reasonable security based on the size and complexity of the organization, the sensitivity of the data, the volume of the data, kind of a fuzzy standard. But now they're also requiring specific controls be put in place, kind of a hybrid approach, including Massachusetts with a written information security policy, Nevada and Massachusetts with encryption requirements. So this is a change of pace, and it hasn't caught fire necessarily like the SB 1386 in California, but there's a potential for this to catch fire. And if every state passes their own information security law mandating specific types of controls be put in place as opposed to reasonable controls, the regulatory environment will probably be more complex and more confused. Beyond that, we have things like the ID theft red flag rules, which looks at data security and privacy from the aspect of opening up fraudulent accounts and puts responsibilities on banks and other organizations to prevent fraudulent accounts from being opened after security breaches occurred. And we also have actual rules focusing on not data security, but actual privacy, data handling. How are you collecting? How are you disclosing information? Are you providing proper notice? And we'll talk about that a little bit later in the federal realm with the Boucher bill. But the bottom line is, I think in the last 3 or 4 years, our environment, especially if you're a company that has exposure on a multinational level, which arguably is anyone with a website these days, has become increasingly complex, and there doesn't seem to be any kind of regulatory method that's being settled upon. Now the question becomes, in my view, whether or not the enforcement actions are going to actually push this regulatory environment into the danger zone, so to speak.